Hello folks, Phil Gallagher of ThrabenU here for an extra spicy legacy video. The starting deck list here comes from Jace M, who wanted me to play a Time Sieve combo deck. And this is going to be one of those days where we're going to be playing the tournament practice room because I need to adjust this deck, but I don't know where to start. So Time Sieve is a classic combo card, often relegated to the casual commander table. Well, okay, maybe extra turns and casual commanders, maybe not the right fit, but not the most competitive strategy. You can sacrifice 5 artifacts to take an extra turn after this one. And the idea here is that we use Academy Manufacturer to pump out extra artifacts, or we go and use things like Amory to rebuy the artifacts from our graveyard in the first place. And kind of backing this up, we have the Underworld Cookbook and Oval Chase Daredevil combo. So if you discard a card with Underworld Cookbook, you get to create a food token. And then whenever that artifact, the food token, enters play, you get to return this to your hand. The idea is you can have multiple Underworld Cookbooks in play, and then maybe like an Amory or an Academy Manufacturer, and then kind of get to the point where you can take infinite turns, and then winning from there is trivial. As far as the rest of the deck goes, since we're already playing the Underworld Cookbook, we absolutely go and play Asmoranomardicadaistinaculdacar to round out the deck list. And kind of one of the newer things holding this deck together is Ledger Shredder. This is a standalone threat, and the looting is supposed to help put things into the graveyard for things like Emery. And there's also a small Unearth package as well to return these things from the graveyard. There's a Singleton Entomb to go with the Unearths, as well as Currency Converter, which is oftentimes hot new tech for Urza Saga targets. So the second ability on this thing, you can put a card exiled with Currency Converter into your graveyard. If it's a land card, you get a treasure token. If it's non-land, you get a 2/2. So this is something where you can also discard a land, put it under Currency Converter, then convert it into a treasure token, which hopefully becomes 3 permanents later. So this is the starting deck list that I was given, and I think I need to play a couple of games with it. I suspect there are problems, and I suspect after 1 to 2 rounds we're going to be making significant changes to the deck list, but this is one of those times where this deck is unique enough that I've never played anything like it, and so I think it's hard to make changes without having played any games here. I have ideas, but I think I'm going to keep my mouth shut until I get a little bit of experience playing the deck here. As far as the sideboard goes, we have a lot of strong black options. If you kind of take a look at the main deck here, the blue count is relatively low, and so it's going to be a little hard for us to play the Force of Will type cards. And if you take a look at what we would be pitching, it's some of the cards most central to the strategy. So I don't know that that is going to work out as an option. Again, we'll probably make some changes after a round or two. But yeah, let's just kind of hop into the games and see how this goes with this Time Sieve Currency Converter Food Infinite Combo deck that I don't know what I'm going to name it yet. We'll figure that out later. Anyway, if you're new here and you enjoy this jank, please consider subscribing to the channel. There's a lot more coming and a lot of fun videos in the past as well. And if you're a regular, please throw me a like before the video begins. That's the easiest way to support my content for free. Let's battle. Okay, I have a single land here. I think I just have to mulligan this one. Okay, I have more mana here. I might run into a disappearing mana problem, though. I have Underworld Cookbook, Oval Chase, Daredevil. So I'm going to assume this is ultimately a keep. I'll throw back one Urza Saga, I guess. We're going to make a lot of artifacts very quickly. So do I play Saga on 1? I play Saga on 1. I go Cookbook, Opal. Opal is turned on. Yeah, I probably play it on 1. The hand falls apart a bit in a lot of different scenarios, but I think I'm going to go ahead and shoot for the moon here. So there's the Mox Opal. Not turned on yet, but it will be momentarily. Always yes, always yield to that. And then I can go 1 mana, or a currency converter. Okay. I have made many artifacts, and we have an extra thick set of Urza Saga tokens coming. But if my opponent can wasteland this, I am so screwed. Like, I don't know that I ever come back from it, because, like, otherwise I'm just kind of, like, booting into oblivion. This is going to be, like, really annoying in conjunction, just in terms of, like, triggers. Dark Ritual? Oh, yeah. Oh, Opposition Agent would kind of suck, right? Okay, 8th. Oh, shit. That's not targeting me. Danger. 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 Yeah, that's bad. I'll discard my Daredevil. Oh, fuck. Maybe because of this, I should have discarded this. No, I don't want to do that. Okay. Unmask targeting me. Okay, so opponent has a Chrome Mox left. They are all in on this Archon. Let's see. So I could discard Polluted Delta in order to get a treasure token, return this to my hand. I'm not very good at getting out from under this Archon. Like, guess what I need to do is at my opponent's end step, make an Urza Saga token, and then try to, like, kill them? Yeah, something like that. Okay. I'm gonna go ahead and preemptively fetch now. I'm not, like, really expecting, like, an opposition agent type thing, but it seems pretty free to do so. So this thing is gonna crash in at me. And discard this. Put it under currency converter. And make a 2/2 rogue. But I think it's better to do this. So discard this. Yes, I will exile that card. I make my food token, which returns the Daredevil. Now I'll go ahead and discard this. I do not want to exile that card. I'll take the 6 damage, go to 7. At end of turn, I'll make this. Yes, I will return that critter. And then I'll tap this, getting my 2/2 token. Alright. So, discard this. No to that. Always yield to that. Yes, I'll use this ability. I will go 2 mana, make a token, and I'll search my library for something. I think it's just another one of these. I don't have really mana to do anything else. So then discard the Daredevil. No to that. Yes to this. This is 12 damage. This is 13 damage. Am I missing anything? Forgot about the damage on attack, so I'm actually just dead to this? Well, damn, I'm so close. These artifacts are huge, but I don't really have an out withdrawing with this Mishra's Bauble. Shoot! We're so close. Yeah, so, like, I sacrifice a rogue token. I discard a card. They no to that. Yeah. So, I think I had a better line now that now that I know what's in the deck. So, I could have floated... I had 3 mana, so I could have floated mana instead of making the second construct, grabbed a Shadow Spear equip, and then I think that line gets there. I think that loss was on me for not grabbing Shadow Spear. I forgot about the on attack trigger. I thought I was at like 7 life, so I had one more turn. Like that's on me. I have ley lines, right? Yeah, I have ley lines. Opposition agent is probably too slow for this matchup with the mana acceleration that I have. Like, I'm not a Dark Ritual deck that can just, like, super consistently get it out on turn 1. This is probably a turn 3 play for this deck on average. Like, sometimes I have an Ancient Tomb or an Opal, but, like, not always. So I think I don't play that. I think I will get Thoughtseizes in, and Brazen Borrower is worth considering. But I'm going to want to board 7 to 9 cards. I think if I'm going to board that many cards, I probably just have to, like, kill my opponent with Urza Saga tokens or large ledger shredders rather than go for the full combo. I think the Time Sieves are going to go out, and the Entombs and Unearths are going to go out, and I think that gives me the room for this stuff, and then, like, one Brazen Borrower. And let's try something like that. Oh, mana does not work with this hand. I don't have the blue mana I need. Yeah, I'm gonna mulligan this. Is a Thoughtseize good enough to, like, keep this hand? Or do I just, like, mull 2 Leyline here? Like, this has a Thoughtseize, but then this stuff on its own is not innately doing a lot. I can play Thoughtseize on turn 1, into Ledger Shredder on turn 2, into Ledger Shredder Loot on turn 3. I don't know that this is a winning line. I think I'd rather Leyline. Yeah. This is 5. I don't think this wins. Okay, there is a... why did it have to be a bad Leyline hand? Okay. So I need to lean into drawing the colorless things that matter in my deck. So that's an easy one. I think I keep this for in case I draw a cookbook. And, like, then it's tough. I think I'm going to keep this for cookbook and this for having an out to a creature that does eventually slip into play. But this is a classic, like, keep a very strong hate piece hand, but then, like, don't actually have anything to do to follow it up. This hand loses a good portion of the time. Okay, there's a Chromux. And we're potentially looking at a show and tell situation. Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Fuck. I will put nothing in. Yeah. That was not happening. Like, we mulliganed to hate. My opponent had the sideboard juke, and they just took my interaction for it. We're gonna go ahead and concede here. So, thoughts after round 1. This deck makes way, way more artifacts than I expected it would. I might want to lean more into that. Like, we'll try to give Ledger Shredder a chance to shine, but it may be that this deck list, like, also wants some sort of, like, Karn or Psy type stuff, or, sorry, I should clarify, like, Karn, the Scion of Urza that makes, construct tokens. Like, we might want another way to take advantage of all of these artifacts that we're doing. Yeah, more data needed, but I really liked what I saw in round 1 here. Okay, round 2, they're playing against a Yorion deck. I have Urza Saga, Cookbook, discard something with Cookbook. I have 2 artifacts. This one's close, but I don't think it quite gets there. If I had one more mana source, I think this hand's pretty good. This hand kind of objectively does nothing as of right now, but, like, has this cool currency converter Underworld Cookbook combo thing going on. I think I'm going to pitch this, get rid of the Time Sieve for now, and see where this hand goes. So let's go Ancient Tomb, 2 mana, Underworld Cookbook. I should pop out this Yorion. Currency Converter. Play the Mox Opal. I think I will play the Mishra's Bauble for the redraw. Get a feel for what my opponent's doing over there. It's probably going to be... Ooh, it is Death and Taxes. Sure. And we'll start trying to grind away with these things. That's... Oh, it's not. Maybe something closer to elementals. The Solitude was unexpected from something other than Death and Taxes. I think I'm just going to save these to loot with Currency Converter rather than do anything else with them right now. Yeah. Let's try to find something to do. I'll discard just a land here, I guess. And I will exile that card from my graveyard. Play a Bauble. I think I will go ahead and make a land drop here. Let's try to get some more information about what my opponent is doing. That's fine. And now I'm just looking for, like, an Asmor, an Urza Saga, a Oval Chase Daredevil. All right, opponent just chilling for now. I think I am going to take... No, I don't need to take the damage here, I don't think. Let's just loot like this. Ugh. Okay. Discard the land. Take 2 from my Ancient Tombs. I'm going to play out some cookbooks. We are going to have a very, very, very high artifact count for when I find something that cares about artifacts. And go ahead and take my bonus card. That is a prismatic ending. I'm just going to get rid of this currency converter and make it so that I don't have a lot going on. Without an Emery or an Unearth, this Entomb is not doing me a lot of good. Which probably means that if this isn't a singularly good card, I just, like, can't play it. That's probably what that means. So let's consider cutting that after this round. Okay, that's fine. I'm just going to double check myself to make sure I'm not missing anything with Entomb. Yeah, there's not anything here that is just going to innately come back on its own. So let's discard a card to make a food token. And then play an Asmore. And this allows us to get the final Underworld Cookbook from the deck. And then we'll cast that. Again, like, so many artifacts, nothing to do with them as of right now. Is that a lightning bolt? That's a honest-to-goodness lightning bolt. Sure. Now, I can, and I don't know if this is good, but I can sacrifice an Underworld Cookbook to return Osmore to hand. Like, it's a glorified 2/2 at this point. Like, I don't have multiple foods, and it's, like, not a big enough threat, and oh, okay, so that is a cavern on Elemental, so my opponent is the Risen Reef deck, then. That's an uncommon deck. Uh-huh. That is interesting. So I can play that and sacrifice a bunch of these to take an extra turn, but I don't really know that that goes anywhere. So the next question is, like, do I play this out now, or do I sandbag this? I think I'm going to play this out now and just, like, let this sit on board, because I can sacrifice the artifacts at instant speed for an extra turn. So that's a thing. Wasteland's really strong. Yep. I'm absolutely fine taking 1 damage here. That is not that big of a deal. And then that is Yorion to hand. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, I like that. No! No! I am so upset. I'm so upset. I have no other cards in hand to just return this in response. Fuck. And I only have 2 active mana since my opponent wastelanded me, so I can't, like, sack one of these to return Osmore, discard Osmore. Fuck. Absolute fuck. I was so excited. And then everything was ruined. Yeah, so that would have been 4 of the 5 artifacts needed per turn cycle for infinite turns with Time Sieve. Okay, there's Prismatic Vista off Expressive Iteration. Take 1, go to 12. Don't fucking Endurance me again. Don't do it. Nice. Yes, okay. Then the madness continues. Always yes, always yield. Yeah. Yeah. I hate that you can't, like, always yes that thing successfully. Due to it, like, changing zones. Alright. There's an extra turn. And I can queue up a whole bunch of extra turns here. Alright, nice. Let's do this. And repeat this process. Alright, so I repeat that process for all of my Underworld cookbooks. And then I will play this as an actual threat. I have all of my Underworld cookbooks in play, so I will not use that ability. Then I'll Time Sieve, sacrificing 5 artifacts to take an extra turn. So we'll make an attempt at crashing in with Osmore, but this is just going to get bounced by Caracas. Or not. And I'll repeat this loop. Okay, opponent figured it out now. Okay, so I repeat the loop for all of my cookbooks. Then I redeploy Osmore. Not use that ability. I will go ahead and Time Sieve. That's 1, 2, 3, 4. And I think I can sacrifice my Mox Opal here safely. 5. Take my extra turn. Ooh, we are now getting a response from the opponent. They may be using a Swords to Plowshares on Osmore. That is indeed happening. We don't have any sort of deterministic win here, but that's real good. All right, so play that out. And I'll repeat my loop. Okay, so now I do start losing a little bit of ground here. So I go 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I'll sacrifice one of my cookbooks to get the extra turn here and get my Urza Saga started ticking up. Oh, yes. So this is now infinite. So there's Academy Manufacturer, Oval Chase Daredevil. Ah, okay, opponent has Solitude, so they're going to try to disrupt this. I can discard this in response and make a couple more bonus tokens that queues up some extra turns for me. And then opponent's Solitude will enter play. And their evoke happens. Now I will sacrifice you, the foods, and a clue. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I still have multiple extra turns queued up. Okay, so opponent has really good interaction versus my deck. Like, they have Solitude, they have Endurance, and, like, those are draw engines as well. Plague Engineer on Elemental is kind of cool for killing Risen Reefs. I can also Thought Seize if I want to just, like, check and see if the way is clear. I don't really know what I don't want. Well, actually, I think that's untrue. I think this is, like, very clearly the weakest part of the package, and, like, I'm going to get rid of this after this round. So let's go there. Play some Plague Engineers on Elementals and a couple of Thought Seizes. I don't know, like, maybe the Plague Engineers aren't that good since my opponent has so much removal in their deck anyway that's going to stay in there. Maybe I'll just play the playset of Thought Seizes as a way to punch a hole in what's going on. Okay, turn 1 Thought Seize, turn 2 Artifact Land Emery, and go from there. Like, I have multiple Emerys to recur stuff. This hand is probably reasonable. Going to be relatively soft to Wasteland, though. I don't really want another Time Sieve there. Alright, let's Thought Seize the opponent. Those are some decent cards. What am I taking? The Lightning Bolt is the most immediately annoying thing, but I do just have multiple Emerys. So I think I'm going to take the best source of card advantage here. If my opponent has Collector Oof in their deck, maybe I need to take Green Sun there instead. But I'm not familiar enough with what the Elemental deck list sideboard looks like to make that decision with certainty. I'm going to be honest. If my opponent does have Collector Oof, I don't know that I beat that card, just full stop. Like, I'm not very good at answering, like, Collector Oofs, Serenities, Meltdowns, those sorts of cards. Okay, there is a Plateau. That's going to be the Lightning Bolt on Emery. And now we see if my opponent does have Collector Oof. If they do, it's really bad news for me. It is looking like they do. Yeah, shit. Okay, so this now becomes my primary plan. Just, like, kill my opponent with a giant Ledger Shredder. I might have to figure out a way to deal with Ice Fang Coatl, though. So I'm looking to draw, like, Urza Sagas or Ledger Shredders, stuff of that general nature. Looks like opponent is going to play around feeding Ledger Shredder too, which is not great for me. I also can't play 2 spells on my own very easily. Oh shit, there's Osmore as an out to this if I can. Yeah, so don't have 3 Snowlands, so this Ice Fang is not Death Touchy yet. Yeah, the activated ability is on Osmore, right? It's Sacrifice Osmore. But I have to discard a card in order to get Osmor into play. That's probably not happening with Oof in play. Yeah, I messed up by not taking the Green Sun. Like, I thought about Collector Oof after I took EI. Okay, Life from the Loam. Fine, that's just returning Vista. Yep, I will take that damage. Okay. So, can't really double spell right now, so I think I'm just going to work on increasing the oomph that my board has. My opponent now has Death Touchy, Ice Fang Coatl, so I have to hold Ledger Shredder back. Okay, so this does not stack with multiple Academy manufacturers. Just a replacement effect, not an additional one. Alright. So, life's bad. Opponent doesn't have a Risen Reef type card yet to really, like, start grinding card advantage in a very negative way for me. That's a Wasteland. I don't think I beat Life from the Loam Wasteland. Straight up. That seems too hard for me to beat with, like, my artifact lands already being shut off. And my artifact mana, like, not being viable. Can't, like, Shadow Spear to trample over these threats or anything. Opponent is playing around putting counters on my Ledger Shredder. This game is not over, but I think as far as the purposes of playtesting goes, I've gained everything that I'm going to gain out of this game. So, I can play some things to make me better versus Collector Oof, or I can just ignore it. As weird as that sounds, like, I can play Brazen Borrower to bounce it, I can play Opposition Agent to stop my opponent from searching for it, but I'm going to dilute the core of my deck if I do that and make it, like, much less likely that I can actually, like, set up a winning scenario. So I think I am going to just ignore it and hope that I can get out ahead of it and get something very powerful on board. Okay. This looks pretty powerful. I'm going to keep this. The question is, like, on which turn do I play the Thoughtseize? I think I play it on turn 1 in an attempt to take Prismatic Ending and keep these cards around for the long game. I believe that is my plan. Ooh, good call, Phil. Yes, there is the question of whether I take the Force of Will instead, though. So next turn I can play Ancient Tomb, Cookbook, Converter, 1 mana, Emery, and that's pretty threatening, and then I can just try to find another thing later. Although, if I force my opponent to use the Force of Will, that takes 2 cards out of their hand, including their source of card advantage. Yeah. Making them use the Force of Will here actually seems pretty good. I don't know, like, if they Force of Will this specifically, that also keeps me from getting the Emery into play immediately. But I think that's fine. I think I can play towards a longer game here. There's also worlds where, like, my opponent... Oh, interesting. Okay, they are holding up Veil of Summer actively. Alright. Here is a currency converter. I could just play a 2-mana Emery here. Try to get Emery forced instead of Underworld Cookbook. I think I like that. This also uses my blue mana on this turn before I can get Wastelanded. Okay, there's the Force pitching the Risen Reef, kind of like I expected. And now I'm a little bit better insulated against the Wasteland. Okay, that's fine. Alright, so I will float a colorless mana here and cast an Underworld Cookbook. Then, with a floating mana, we'll go ahead and play Emery. Academy Manufacturer hits the graveyard. That's actually really good. Then I can just pass the turn here. And then I'm going to have a lot of options available to me. Yeah, that's fine. Potentially just gets... Oh, it gets Collector Oof. Wasn't super considering that earlier. Discard the Daredevil. Make my food token. Turn that to hand. And unfortunately, my stuff gets shut off. Okay. Yeah, I don't... The card's so hard to beat. Yeah, I guess I just messed up by not taking that card. My opponent's mana was just, like, awkward enough earlier that I thought I might be able to just, like, raw power through that. But now I'm essentially on Urza Saga or bust, and my opponent has a Wasteland at the ready. Yeah, I think this deck is very ill-equipped to beat Collector Oof in its current configuration. Like, the opposition agent feels so slow. Like, it would have been fast enough this time, but that's not always the case. I do really worry about just, like, boarding in too many cards and just reducing the density of what my stuff does. Yeah, I think I need a few more singularly powerful cards that can beat this. Maybe an Otawara in the mana base or something. What is this? Okay, it's Yori into hand. That's fine. Eh. Alright. There's a Mox Opal that I can cast. There's an Academy Manufacturer in play. We're just gonna get beaten to death by a couple of Yorian packs in a way that's not super great for me. And like this also just protects from Brazen Borrower, other removal spells onto this. So like wouldn't even be top decking towards Brazen Borrower in most situations. Eh. Okay, I think I am on the pitiful attack in for 3 plan. Actually, no, it probably needs to be attack in for no. Uh all right, I think I've learned what I'm going to learn from this match. I'm going to concede here and do some deck list tuning now that I have a better idea of what this deck is doing. Hey, folks, I hope you're enjoying the content. If you are, consider listening to the podcasts that I was on this week. I was on Humans of Magic, as well as In Response, a legacy podcast. I've linked both in the video description today if you want to check those out. And more generally, I just wanted to say thank you to everyone who has like commented on videos, liked, and subscribed. The support is really helping out the channel. Like, really, it means a lot. I'm seeing a lot of growth. And let's just get back to the games. Okay, I'll show off my new deck list in just a second. I'm going to think through my mulligan here. So I can go Ancient Tomb, Mox Opal, Bauble, turn to Academy Manufacturer, Bob. This is on. I don't know that this hand goes anywhere. I'm going to go ahead and mulligan. There's one of the new stars of the show. This is going to be a keep for sure. Am I starting this with Urza Saga and then Karn as a finisher later, or am I just playing turn 2 Karn? I think I like playing turn 2 Karn because this is 1, 2, 3, 4 mana with Metalcraft, assuming this. Or alternatively, I can play this on turn 1 off Ancient Tomb. I think I want all of these lands for different reasons. Okay. Quick look at the deck list here. I made minimal changes. I made a swap of a black land for a blue land. I added 2 Karns to the main deck, went down a Time Sieve, went up a Currency Converter, went up an Academy Manufacturer, getting rid of those 4 black cards I didn't like. And then I changed the sideboard to add 2 Ancient Tombs so I can accelerate into Karns and Urzas for games where I want to grind, and make turn 1 Thorn of Amethyst a reasonable hate option. Alright, so let's go Vault, Opal, Bauble. I don't know. Maybe I'm supposed to hold both of these till next turn so they can't be hit by a Prismatic Ending. But then there's like Thalia and Chalice effects to think about too, so like there's reasons for both. Alright, there is a Misty. Ooh, if we're playing against Delver, things are now a little more interesting, because, like, I don't necessarily want to play Karn into Daze. That's a little tricky. Waiting a turn is so bad on tempo for me. Like, so very bad. I think waiting a turn is bad enough on tempo for me in terms of what my opponent can do, that I just go ahead and do this. And doing this is, like, a very, very high ceiling play. I expect this either gets dazed or forced, and fuck me. All right, let's fucking go. Deuter. And that is a Deuter that is outside of range of Lightning Bolt. This is going to be extremely powerful. Even more so if I start getting, like, Cookbook shenanigans going, which I would be, like, super on board for. Now, this can also just be, like, sneak and show. Like, let the record show. Like, that is very much a thing that could be going on here. Let's see if, like, Karn gets bolted. Okay, Karn gets bolted. That's fine. Ooh, one shreddy boy, you say? Don't mind if I do. Opponent's tapped out. I'm not expecting any sort of interaction here. I can just filter, like, I can just play this pre-combat and be perfectly happy with that. So we've put a ton of pressure on my opponent. Again, though, as with every single match ever versus this deck, like, just absolutely fucking terrified of Murktide Regent still. Note, opponent sequencing there has to be the Lightning Bolt first, Otherwise, if they brainstorm and then lightning bolt afterwards, Ledger Shredder triggers, turning it into an X4 and meaning that it can like never be removed. Okay, there is a Delver. I don't really care about that right now. Again, it's all about Murktide Regent. So, we can go ahead and play this pre-combat. Grab an Underground Sea. Go 1, 2, 3 for this. 2 mana for an Urza Saga token. Now these might be big enough that I can actually just beat a Archetype Regent outright if it comes into play. Like I just like grab either Shadow Spear or Cookbook and just like bully my opponent that way. That's fine. Okay, cool. So opponent puts Ponder in graveyard. All right, there's a Misty Fetch. Okay, that's fine. That means I'm probably no longer getting Cookbook unless I draw Oval Chase Daredevil for turn. I guess even then, like, Trample is still just stupid as of right now. So I think we've got this win on board here. So 1 mana, 2 mana. They're back up to 6/6s. Shadow Spear turns them into 7/7s. Yeah, there's the Shadow Spear. Delta, Batch. Yeah, there's the onboard win. Very, very, very impressive amount of artifacts that game. Although straight up, we were absolutely just lucky that the Karn resolved. That game is so much harder. Like, opponent did not have a force effect, or I should say, opponent did not have a counterspell, and they also did not have a wasteland, and those were the things they needed. Like, the counterspells, wasteland, and Murktide Regent were the things we cared about that game, and my opponent didn't have any of them. Okay. How do I want to play versus Delver? Do I think it is realistic that I can resolve and keep all of the pieces of the Time Sieve combo? Probably not when my opponent is going to board at least 2 meltdowns. So that probably means this comes out for, like, ley lines. That just really dampens my opponent's power. And these are actually hard castable in this deck. And then I probably also want a Pithing Needle or Wasteland. Asmors are actually really good here. What's my last cut? Do I cut a Karn? Like, it was obviously insane, that game, but it's so hard to resolve normally. Especially on the draw. Probably at least cut one of those on the draw. How is this? Underworld Cookbook doesn't really do anything right now. Ledger Shredder's cool. Amory's cool. This hand just feels a little awkward, though. Like, Wasteland will be insane versus this hand, right? Like, I get this Ancient Tomb Wastelanded, and then I largely don't do anything ever. I think I'm going to mulligan this. This hand I like a lot better. I am nowhere near ready for Shadow Spear. So I think I'm going to just go ahead and get rid of that. And we might actually get to see, like, Currency Converter, Ledger Shredder working in tandem. Which sounds real cool. Alright, okay. Opponent has a very good start here. This is probably the best Delver start these days. And I think I just don't want to get Wastelanded on turn 1. So let's grab Basic Island. And I'm going to play Currency Converter now. If this gets dazed, like, so be it. Okay, no counter spells yet. Anyway, but like long term, I very much want to have the Underworld Cookbook plus Daredevil. Because like legit just eating food every turn undoes a Dragon Rage Channeler attack. And that super matters. Okay. Alright, that is a Delver that is very likely to flip next turn. My opponent just used a cantrip. Okay. There's some inevitability. Am I fine just jamming Ledger Shredder now? Into Daze and Force. I think so. I've got to get through those counterspells at some point. I don't think I can take the time off here. I'm not a, like, controlling enough deck that I can just afford to play around the resources that my opponent has when they already have 2 creatures on board. I also think a huge portion of the time my opponent just, like, lets us resolve and lightning bolts it, and, like, that's that. I can wait 1 turn and then, like, play it plus Underworld Cookbook, but I still run into, like, a lot of the same counterspell problems, and a lightning bolt still beats it the vast majority of the time, so I don't know. Fuck. I knew what was happening when I saw my opponent tap 3 mana. I don't think I beat that card. Just full stop. That's quite bad for me. Alright, that's gone. Oh, maybe it's not gone this. Fuck. Fuck. Yeah, it's gone. Okay, that's a more. Fuck. Like, everything I do requires me to build up a critical density of artifacts, and I have no outs to that card. I am going to concede that's not happening. Absolutely not happening. Okay, now I know about energy flux. Oh my god, I don't know what to do against that. Probably have to play the Brazen Borrowers. I don't know, like, Brazen Borrowing that out of play doesn't seem like an answer, right? Like, I bounce it for a turn, I can make a bunch of cool artifacts, and then what? Like, my opponent just replays it, and I'm back in the same position? Maybe that's a just, like, ignore it, you can't beat it scenario. So, on the play, do I just want to jam a bunch of Karns and just go faster? Like, I could absolutely see on the play junking Ledger Shredder and just saying, like, I am going to turbo out artifact tokens that are larger than 5/5s, or sorry, larger than 3/3s, and win that way. I buy that. I don't know if that's right. Feels good to me. This plays multiple currency converters, has 1 redraw. This doesn't seem like it goes anywhere. This is, well, turn 2, tomb currency converter, crack this. Turn 2, loot with this, play Osmor. I think I can do better than this. Oh yeah. Absolutely. I'm gonna keep this. I think pitching the Otawara, like, that is a cool card, but I think my other lands are just better. I'm gonna play a seat here in working towards having a high artifact count, so that, like, these Karn tokens can do the things that I want them to do. Ooh, that's nice backup. I think I'm gonna stay the course as far as my curve is concerned, and, like, plan on playing Karn next turn. But I can play Urza Saga and Karn next turn, and that should be really good. Hopefully I've slowed down my opponent's aggression a lot, maybe stuck them with a Murktide Region in hand. Yeah, your Brainstorm's fine. I think I'm just jamming into Days again. Okay, cool. Yeah, the graveyard not accumulating here is kind of a big deal. I don't need to do anything until post-combat. I can just go ahead and attack in and then do my Karn thing. If I didn't have Urza Saga here, that is just going to eat up my mana for the next few turns, I would play around Days, but I think since I do have Urza Saga, that, like, is going to be my mana sink for the future, I'm fine with playing Karn. The worlds where this is bad is where my opponent forces this or dazes this and then wastelands Urza Saga. Alright, we are getting another Brainstorm here, it looks like. Alright. Ah, there it is. The opponent gets 4 looks at Force of Will, Force of Negation, and Daze. If Daze is still in their on the draw post sideboard boarding configuration. Alright, did we do the thing? We did not do the thing. We got an expressive iteration out of the deal, though. So that's good. Alright, so I am good unless opponent has Wasteland. In which case, I am incredibly far behind. God, deck looks at so many cards. Okay, that's a Mystic Sanctuary in the Exile Zone. Sorry, in Graveyard and then in Exile. That was from the Dragon Rage Channeler Surveil. Okay, that was a Steam Vents they played from Exile. And Delver. Yeah. That seems like a free attack that my opponent just missed. Okay, so right now this is a 1, 2, 3, 3. This makes it a 4/4, which is a very important number. I will go ahead and play this out. Absolutely. If I'm trading 1 damage for 1 damage here, I think so. I have Shadow Spear coming. That seems fine. Got, like, Energy Flux as the big thing that I have to worry about here, I guess, at this stage. Meltdown's scary another turn or so from now. That's, I think, fine. The Delver not flipping this turn was a boon for me. Okay, no attacks. That's good. I will make my construct. And we're probably going the Urza Saga Shadowspear route, unless I draw something that, like, really makes me change my mind. Ooh. Okay, that's just fetching around Pithing Needle. Yeah. We're doing this. There's a Bobble. With an equip on the Construct token. And I'll send in some critters. Very much lose to Meltdown right now. Alright, Petty Theft on a token. Okay, they junked a Force of Will. I'm only going to get 1 damage in this turn. Do I equip Shadowspear now? In the worlds where I don't get, like, Meltdown did, or this token otherwise answered, it saves me health. Actually, maybe that's not true, right? It's like, opponent would just, like, not attack with this and attack with potentially flipping Delvers. Yeah, I think I'll chill. See if these flip. They flip to Brainstorm. There's a very good blind flip. And now opponent just gets to dig for an Energy Flux type card that just gets to beat me. Yeah, like Energy Flux, Meltdown, those sorts of things are just going to end me. Ugh. Deck is so good. Yeah. Alright. So, like, now my creatures become much smaller. Go down to 10. I might bobble myself here. I guess bobbling the opponent's still better, right? Because, like, I'm drawing the card anyway. I would have seen the card anyway. Yeah, bobbling my opponent was better there. Okay, so I have the ability to pay for 3 artifacts. It has to be, like, Construct Token, Shadowspear, and then maybe, like, Opal. Then I have, like, a 3/3 that's Lightning Boltable. I gain 3 life. Gain 3 life. Take 6, then I take 9. Yeah, I don't really think I ever beat this card. I am fine giving up here and moving to the next round. Like, that's just brutal. Okay. So, this is an opening hand that, like, almost works and is almost very, very good. They have, like, multiple Ledger Shredders and Emery. Just, like, can't take good advantage of this Ancient Tomb. So I just go, like, Ledger Shredder. Then turn 3, I go, like, Ledger Shredder in. Maybe this is fine. This is a very different sort of hand, I guess, for data collecting. Let's keep this. Like, this hand will be a good test of whether or not, like, the Ledger Shredders should actually be in the deck or whether they should be something else. This is, like, about as good as they possibly could be. Don't randomly stifle me here. Cool. I'll just pick up a C, play a land, and attempt a Ledger Shredder. Alright, it has worked. Blue-white control deck of some kind? Absolutely. You're cool later. You're not really cool now. Let's go 2 mana for a new Ledger Shredder. And then 2 mana for an Emery, which triggers Ledger Shredder. I do not believe I'm anywhere close to Time Sieve right now, so I'm going to go ahead and discard that and get my +1/+1 counter here. Alright. Ooh, that pitched a Jace. Good news is I just, like, have another Emery. I've got a pretty good hand for fighting control. But I'm about to eat a Teferi Bounce, I think. Oh, main deck Pyroblast. Sure. Jam? Like, the constructs aren't huge right now or anything, but feels good. Dress Down is a real card that my opponent could be playing. So that's something that I do have to keep in mind here. I also have to keep Lightning Bolt in mind. That's just going to Prismatic Ending, take out a token. That's fine. That's also fine. Am I just drawing a card with Karn? I don't think so. I don't think I'm going to play around the Lightning Bolt type effects. I think I am just going to make this as much of a... actually, I'll play the Emery first and see if Emery resolves. Lots of goodies in the graveyard. Now let's play a Manufacturer. Supreme Verdict would be kind of bad for me, but I would still have a Karn in play, so like, eh. More Expressive Iteration. Finding an island, sure. Alright, opponent has some mana up. Let's do some stuff here. Oval Chase Daredevil and a Swamp. I get a Swamp. Where are these hanging out? There they are. Okay. So I'm going to play that. I think I want the Bobble over the Time Sieve. Actually, my mana works out so that I could like play the Time Sieve pretty easily this turn. Let's do that. Let's put the Fear of Infinite in my opponent. Okay, there it is. I am playing out all of these things pre-combat for the sake of larger creatures here. This is fine. This is probably fine, too. Like, I expect, like, Snapcaster or a Small Shark or something. Okay, Hull Breacher. So that was not fine. Whatever, it does mean I successfully get a crack in. Not the best for me. I shouldn't have attacked with that. Yeah, because, like, now I get further away from actually comboing because I need to just, like, protect the Karn. Yeah, that wasn't the best. I don't know. Like, I can just, like, redeploy it with Emery, so, like, it's not the biggest deal. But this is the turn cycle where I got, like, the best feel for exactly what my opponent is doing. They're, like, the Hull Breacher, Days Undoing style deck. Which is fine. I mean, it's fine unless it's not, right? Okay, sure. Ooh. Osmor is just kind of rotting in my hand. Alright, there's a new Time Sieve. Looks like my opponent is just F6'd. Good to know. Do I want to plus this? Draw essentially a random card? I don't think so. I think I'd rather just have the beater. I do really regret attacking with the Academy Manufacturer last turn. I have 1, 2, 3. I have 4 artifacts. I think I am on the losing side of the equation here. Oh, yeah, that's gross. It just, like, unsummons this construct token, and then if my opponent answers my Emery, I'm left on 0. Oh, shit. Yeah. Didn't have 5 artifacts to sacrifice. Wow, having to deal with, like, Dak and Jace both is disgusting. Okay. Bobbles also become significantly worse with these cards in play. The Osmor helps if I actually get it into play, but I've just, like, failed at actually generating anything that can cause me to discard. Like, I haven't hit a currency converter or a Underworld Cookbook yet. Yeah, knew that was coming. In case you're not familiar with how that works, this Narset is preventing me from drawing the cards, and then the rest of the DAC ability still has to resolve, forcing me to discard. I can't really build up any cards in hand. Now my opponent just has, like, 3 Planeswalkers that I can't currently pressure very well. And, like, they have this construct token that is growing because of the treasures that they're making. And so if they ever hit a Days Undoing, they just have a construct that is bigger than everything that I can... Don't do it. Mentor. Okay. I think unless my draw is insane here, I'm just going to concede. Like, I am not beating this combination of cards. Absolutely not. Yeah, I could, like, play this out for another 5+ minutes, but I don't think it's happening. Like, I am going to die one way or another very quickly. Alright, let's go to the sideboard plan for this deck, which is bring in more big guns and just have a higher density of threats. As we saw that game, I was not accumulating enough artifacts to actually Time Sieve combo off, so I think this has to be the cut. How many cards do I need? Oh, I only need 3 more cuts, and at least one of them can probably be a land since I'm bringing in 2 Ancient Tombs. Like, I can probably board out a black source, like one of the black sources or others, if I am boarding in 2 Tombs. It gives me higher mana density. And then I like all the rest of the cards that are in the deck, I think. If I go down, like... Actually, maybe Currency Converter is not great versus the Hull Breacher type stuff. Yeah, maybe I trim those. Vault of Whisper is better than Currency Converter? Question mark, question mark, question mark. Like, there is still the make 2/2 rogues forever thing. Like, that is real. Maybe that's fine. This does not have mana. This also does not have mana. Is this enough mana that, like, it's not questionable to keep? Urza Saga, Opal, 2 artifacts. Opal is on. I don't know that this is a queuable 6 still. Like, it's fully reliant on Urza Saga to go all the way against a control deck. And, like, my mana also just probably gets wrecked by Prismatic Ending. I think I'll go to 5 here. Okay. Pithing Needle goes back. And I think Osmore goes back. But I think I'm just very dead. Like, I require very specifically Ancient Tomb in order to do cool things with this hand. Like, maybe I can play some sort of Ledger Shredder game, but, like, if I draw Ledger Shredder, these aren't doing what I need them to do. Like, I have 4 Ancient Tombs now. Do I want a 3/3? Maybe the answer is yes here. I just have to take this. Unsure which of these is better. They do very different things here. I think I want multiple constructs rather than constructs and mana. I think I want multiple constructs. And I'll play an Asmore, the hopes of picking up another Underworld Cookbook, which I'll play out and probably not use. And we'll see if Osmore eats a removal spell somehow. Interesting. In the first turn cycle that I have it. Alright, it does not. Holding mana for this, I don't need foods now or anything. This seems okay. The other reason to discard Urza is that I can eventually bring Urza back with Underworld Cookbook, but I can't do that in the other direction. Alright, opponent just taking lands here. Okay, that's very good. Okay, so I feel very bad about my situation. That helps a lot, but my double mulligan here definitely hurt. I'll see if I can get myself out of that. The Urza Saga as a land drop is kind of awkward, though, because that means I'm not, like, very easily able to work with Karn in the short term. Opponent's waiting to pay costs on something. Okay. Need different mana. My opponent is at 12 from Osmore plus fetches. Okay. That's really annoying. Like, I'm not very good at attacking that and killing that in one go. My opponent. Well, this is really interesting if Dak dies. Dak is just so unlikely to die here. I can dream, but it's probably not happening. Like, I probably just eat a planeswalker that, like, bounces this plus some other removal spell. Okay, that's filtering a bunch of lands. Yeah. Maybe should have responded to that by discarding the other Osmore or the Academy Manufacturer. Just to make this much cleaner. Okay, maybe. Use target creature. Sacrifice 2 foods. Make it kill itself. Okay. Alright. So you're telling me there's a chance. I will make... I'm fine with making the token here. I will make yet another token. Go ahead and search my library. I'm trying to kill Dak in combat. But maybe I just Pithing Needle Dak and then go for the throat. Or I can take some sort of, like, hedging line. I'm fine with getting this Pithing Needle. Maybe I just name Scalding Tarn. Then there's nothing that could stop me from killing Dak. Then I can just try to kill my opponent next turn in combat. Yeah, I think I'm fine with that line. It's very conservative compared to what I can do. Like, I can get very aggro here. But this results in a dead Planeswalker and a dead land. And I will have another Urza Saga. Minus some Meltdown level card. I think I'm probably okay here. That's fine. Swords is totally fine. A-okay with me. Another Swords? A Prismatic Ending. Sure. That slows me down a lot. Ooh. I am going to have some big boys. So I'm going to bash my opponent for 3. And then I think not show them this whole Oval Chase Daredevil thing now. And see if they have something super scary. Okay. I will respond. Okay. Yeah, that's fine. So Uh, side note here, these somewhat janky fun artifact combo decks are eating so much more hate than they used to from the existence of like Urza Saga decks and 8-cast decks. Like, while these decks have gotten better because of the existence of Urza's Saga, they've also gotten so much worse because, like, 2 years ago, Stony Silence in a sideboard or Null Rod in a sideboard would be relatively rare. Whereas now, a card of that nature is so incredibly common. And again, I'm in this same situation where, like, I have to think about whether or not I actually want to play something like a Brazen Borrower to bounce that sort of stuff out of play. It also, like, bounces my opponent's Planeswalkers, which is, like, a real thing. Maybe that's fine here. Like, do I take out Ledger Shredder? Ledger Shredder is very good against my opponent's expressive iterations. Or do I just, like, continue to cannibalize these currency converters because they're so bad against the Hull Breacher effects? IDK. Osmore did more work than I expected this match, though. I'm going to be keeping this hand. So now we have a Ledger Shredder plus Oval Chase Daredevil. I guess air quotes combo available to us. Oh, fuck. So that means Urza Saga is just a no-go this game. That's disgustingly good for a sideboard card. Wow. Okay. So I've got very real enchantments to worry about here. I basically don't have any black cards that I actually want to cast in this deck right now, right? Like, all of my Time Sieves are in my sideboard. That's probably fine. So I think I am just going to grab a basic here rather than an Underground Sea. Oh, fuck, I can't get a basic island? I only have one of those? Okay, never mind. And I will play my Ledger Shredder. And then we can see, like, where we need to go from here. Like, Ledger Shredder Oval Chase Daredevil is good. I'm not really good at playing multiple cards right now, though. Like, I have good cards to play, but I don't have the ability to play. Okay, well, that doesn't matter then. I will still discard my Oval Chase Daredevil, and I will potentially return that at some point in the not too distant future. Okay, 4 mana to work with. So that's going to be 1 mana Cookbook. Artifact entering lets me return this. Yes. I discard now, I end up with this back in hand, but I end up with fewer things. I think I want more things. So let's now play an Academy Manufacturer. And I think I'm just going to do this now. And just make sure I get the guaranteed value. This is worse against Meltdown, but better against spot removal on my creature. And I am setting up for my Karn tokens to be absolutely massive. All right, that was a Force of Will there. God damn it. Yeah. These enchantments are very dumb. I can Otawara that back to hand at some point. Does Urza Saga give me a colorless mana under Alpine Moon? I assume no, right? I assume it works roughly the same way as Blood Moon does. It's like very important here, though, because it's like whether or not I can cast Emery. This isn't a competitive game. There's nothing at stakes here. I'm not going to look it up. I'm just going to do it. Okay, cool. Now I know. Assumption confirmed. Let's play a Karn. Hopefully it resolves. It does. And minus this, I have a giant creature. Dash in for 1. And my opponent's got a Karn to deal with. I've got an Otawara for Stony Silence when I feel like that is relevant. Or to get a Mentor out of the way. That could also be a thing. Yeah. Okay. So I can Otawara Stony Silence out of play. Activate Oval Chase Daredevil. Create an absolutely massive Karn token, but then, like, opponent just chump blocks it forever with Monastery Mentor. I think I probably don't do that in this turn cycle. I'm going to play an Emery out. See what the graveyard yields. I have enough stuff on board here that I kind of wish that I had, like, Time Sieve. Another Cookbook. Alright. Massive token. land drop. I can leave up this bounce and go for end of turn bounce on Stony Silence. I think I'll do that and see where this goes. Gross. Yeah. I can also just consider just bouncing the Mentor out of play here and keeping my opponent from killing this Karn and trying to get more cards out of it that way. I buy that. That, like, Mentor with an expressive iteration is just going to be so many monks. Like, I would rather kind of limit my opponent's ability to do things with this. Like, this probably just makes another monk and hits a land drop, rather than, like, potentially also removing my construct token and killing Karn. Like, this is a temporary setback. Yeah, that's fine. I think I caused my opponent's EI to be worth significantly less. Alright. Draw a card with Karn. Get an artifact land. Brah. Not the best here. I'm just so bad against these Stony Silence effects. There's not really a lot I can do about that. I think I'm supposed to hold this in hand rather than put this in play. Let's do that. Don't want to take damage to put an artifact that does nothing into play. We'll just use this. Grab that. Am I the beatdown? Like, am I forcing a chump block? Might be the beatdown. I just, like, don't know how this deck is supposed to beat these effects. Like, the bounce... Fuck. The bounce doesn't seem like it's good enough to answer these sorts of problem cards. Like, taking it out of play for one turn isn't good enough. Yeah, now I lose my construct token here. My opponent vomits monks everywhere. Yeah, I don't think I can really win from here. Everything at Karn. That's everything at Karn. That's fine. That occurs. But yeah, like, I think there's just too many Stony Silence. Like, I think there's too much hate for a deck that is kind of, like, janky like this and trying to do something cute with artifacts to just, like, be viable. Like, the deck can do very powerful things. Just don't know how like, playing it right now just seems so tough. All right, round 5 here. I don't think this hand quite innately goes anywhere. I just don't think it has enough starting mana. Whereas this hand has the opposite problem. It has plenty of mana, but nothing to do with said mana. Do I want to go to 5? Or do I want to try to play a slow game and assume that I can draw something relevant along the way? Play a slow game. I don't know which one of these to keep. Do different things. I'm going to keep the Time Sieve and just live that dream. I think I am going to just main phase Polluted Delta, fetch Island, and just play around Stifle and Blood Moon effects. That might be unnecessary, but I don't know. Just gut says it's okay to do. Oh no. We are under too much pressure here. We're dead. We're absolutely already dead. Yeah, and now I get punished for not keeping Shadow Spear in the opener, because I could have played Emery this turn if I had. So the good news is, like, my opponent is probably not really going to interact with me. Like, they might have a Force of... Oh, okay. They are a blue build with Force of Wills, and Force of Negations for that matter. So the good news is that if I can get something broken going, like, my opponent will not have a lot of recourse for it. Oh no, it's the haste sliver, which means if they have a 1-drop sliver, that also gets to attack this turn. Okay, they don't. Fantastic, that could have been a lot worse. Alright, so... how do I win this game? I think I might create... I don't know, like, maybe I just have to play the Emery here. I don't know, maybe I have to just play in a mana-efficient way. Yeah, maybe I just have to play in a mana-efficient way here. Play this out, and then hope to play, like, Emery and Osmore next turn. Like, I can play Emery this turn, and then that makes it, like, slightly more likely that I can get Osmore into play next turn. And, like, Osmore's cool, but, like, there's so many worlds in which Osmore just gets shut off by, like, Crystal and Sliver. Oof. Opponent's build is not very creature dense. They have so much interaction. They also don't have a Lord. Alright. I'll gem Karn. Like, no, they don't have a Lord or any other creature, right? Because, like, otherwise that creature would have attacked. That probably means they have, like, another Swords to Plowshares or something here that is going to eat this Construct token. I do not like my opponent's Sliver build. Like, Force of Wills plus Force of Negations plus Swords of Plowshares is so many things that aren't creatures. Like, I would just, like, be straight dead if my opponent just had a bunch of creatures, and they don't. Yeah, absolutely. Like, I still get another Construct token out of this. Ooh, buddy. I'm going to start by casting this, see if it resolves. Okay. I think at this point, I am just going to minus Karn, junk the Emery, make a food, means that I can cast Osmore. Alright, Swords of Plowshares on a token in response, that's fine. That's not unexpected here. Yes, I will use this ability, pick up another cookbook, cast a cookbook. Now, I only have one food right now, but I can get a second food from literally anything next turn. And yeah, like, opponent has a 1/1 creature in play on turn 5. It has, like, an Aether Vial aggro deck. They've got too much interaction. Like, I am good with where things are at. I'm also fine just attacking in, because in just about every scenario, like, if something bad happens, I can just bail myself out with food tokens. Alright, so let's crash in here. That hits my opponent for 8. I can sacrifice an Underworld Cookbook to get Emery, cast Emery. I don't know that that's better than just holding up food token, though. I am not going to do that. Okay. Yeah, opponent's deck feels misbuilt to me. I can kill Cloud Thresher Sliver here. Do not take this damage this turn, like, because, like, this will become summoning sick. But I don't think I care. I just have 8 on the crackback. That all feels fine to me. And potentially more if I just make some food tokens. I'm gonna go ahead and discard this now. This gets another food token in play, and then I just have, like, spot removal up all the time. If opponent's pausing here, they must have Swords to Plowshares. Okay. I will crash in with my creatures. Totally fine with doing that. Now, do I want to junk the other Underworld Cookbook to play Emery? That seems reasonable. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I will cast that Emery. If opponent has Force of Will, I literally don't care, because that means they probably can't possibly beat me. Okay, good stuff. This artifact, this artifact creature is, like, very much lethal next turn, as is Osmore. And I don't really have to, like, pull the trigger on sacrificing these foods and make my construct smaller as of right now. Yeah. So I want to remind everyone that, like, when my opponent played turn 1 Aether Vial, I thought I was dead with absolutely no recourse. And my opponent had built their deck in a way that it just, like, does not have a high enough density of creatures to be the aggro deck that they want. So my opponent does have, like, Force of Wills and Force of Negations and such. So that's something to keep in mind. Do I view my opponent's deck as a bad control deck, or as an aggro deck still, assuming they can draw better hands? Unsure. I don't super like Ledger Shredder here. My opponent's very unlikely to cast 2 spells. I think I just like things that produce artifact tokens that can potentially deal with their creatures in combat. So I think that means bringing Karns and Ancient Tomb in, and then I probably want a Pithing Needle over a Currency Converter if I'm boarding some Ledger Shredders out. And then don't mind, like, one of these as a swap if I'm looking to create larger creatures. And then it's like, do I want to play Brazen Borrower to fuck with their combat math? I don't know. Like, it seems like the infinite turns thing is reasonable in this matchup, so I think I keep that in. And then I've just physically gone up some lands to better compensate for Wasteland. Okay. Vault, Opal, Cookbook, discard a card, Osmore on turn 1. I don't really go anywhere from there. I can't get to Urza Saga. I can't equip this Shadow Spear. I don't have a Oval Chase Daredevil to make this hand pop. I think I can do better than this. This probably qualifies. Of the cards that are here, Shadow Spear is currently the worst. I really like that card in this matchup. Assuming my opponent does have a more aggressive hand, but putting a Shadow Spear on an Emery doesn't get me to where I need to go. That's fine. There's an Osmore. Alright. The Opal, Bauble, attempt Cookbook so I can play Emery this turn. Okay, it did work. So this is on. It doesn't necessarily live, because my opponent is playing this strange Source of Plowshares build. Unsure if I want to Bauble yet. Looking at my graveyard, I definitely want to replay Bauble as of next turn, as of right now. But I might also want this mana. So it's slightly awkward. I'm gonna go ahead and take the card. Alright, Source of Plowshares is their next card. Alright, there is a currency converter. Nice. Okay. So I can go and get this Bauble back. Cast it. I think I will play currency converter first, can't I? Yeah. I can play currency converter first. Then that hides an Emery under this. Okay, cool. I will discard this redundant Emery. I will exile that. I'll get my food. That gives me the black mana for Osmore. Search up a cookbook. Play a cookbook. Pass the turn. Opponent didn't have a 2-mana creature to play that turn. I know the top card of their library, so they're not gonna have a 2-mana creature to play this turn. So life's pretty good. Yep. Yeah, 3-mana Sliver, a Harmonic. Sure, that's pretty good. Junking my currency converter. Alright, that's good stuff for them. As soon as I can discard another card, I can take out that Harmonic Sliver so that that is not a real issue for the future. Ooh, they have another Sliver. Ooh. Yeah, that is a rough 1-2 punch combo there. I get to just bring my stuff back with Emery, so it's not the biggest deal in the world, but it's definitely still annoying. Another Swords to Plowshares. Okay. Let's get some cards. Okay. So these things are currently immune to my attempts at removing them, and will continue to be so. I think I'm going to just go ahead and get back my Mox Opal here. Past that. Put an Academy Manufacturer into play. That lets me do interesting things with Underworld Cookbook, should I so desire. I'm not sure if I so desire, but I might. I reserve the right to so desire. A lot of it depends on what my opponent does with their Swords to Plowshares. At this point, I just need an Urza Saga or Karn to resolve. Okay, so how do I feel about just creating a clue, a token, and a treasure here? I think I feel good about that. So let's do that. And then, I can just bring that back with Emery next turn if I want. And I know my opponent has another Swords. Or did I see the same Swords twice? It's possible I saw the same Swords twice. Yeah, did I Bauble on their turn and then Bauble again on my turn? Yeah, I think I actually looked at the same Swords twice. Yeah, opponent not able to go on the beatdown plan. Ooh. Shadow Spear is cool. Cost me 3 mana to get that equipped and in play. I think I'm good with that. Okay, yeah. So let's Emery. Grab a Bauble. Cast a Bauble. Shadow Spear equipped to Osmore. Bash in for 4 lifelinking trample damage. Okay, opponent just taking the damage here, kind of as expected. I'll pass the turn. And depending on how my opponent bullies my resources with Harmonic Sliver sorts of stuff, I might be able to like get a currency converter in play and then start playing this game. Ooh, hoo, hoo. That's pretty gross. Alright, so they're going for a Shadow Spear and a Cookbook. That's fine. Like, it's good, but it's not that big of a deal in the grand scheme of things. I will take 3 damage from this attack. That's fine. Again, like, redeploying Shadow Spear and then, like, re-equipping that is just, like, totally a thing that I can do. Force of Will incoming. That's A-okay with me. Oh, yeah, that does a lot of stuff. That makes a lot of tokens. Am I still just getting the Shadow Spear back, though? I can also just get Academy Manufacturer. Yeah, you know, I don't really hate that. Like, do that, and just do this now. Generate a whole bunch of permanents. Yes, return that to my hand. Play a land drop. Go to combat. Bash in for 3. Opponent goes to 9. I know they're drawing Force of Will. And I don't really care about Force of Will right now. I just get to be bringing back everything that I'm doing. Also, I don't know how opponent's mana, like, really works out in the grand scheme of things. So yeah, that's fine. It just kind of feels like I have this crushing inevitability over what my opponent is doing. I think I am going to go ahead and just fetch and thin a land out of my deck here. I don't know, in case my opponent is playing some super random non-basic land hate in their 5-color greed pile. I'm going to just fetch a basic island. Don't really want that. I think I'm just going to start this turn by drawing a card. I'm, like, so close to just going infinite with a Time Sieve. Just draw again. I don't really need to play this turn. I think I am just going to draw again. There is an Osmore. Cool. Let's discard a Daredevil. Do this thing. Now that's back in my hand. And go, like, land drop. Osmore. Searches up a book. Grab a book. We'll junk a treasure token to use the book. Bounce this back to my hand. We'll get an Emery activation in this turn cycle. I have a Mox Opal in play already. I'm just going to take another Underworld Cookbook here. That is 100% worth using a treasure token for, since I just get so much out of it. Just do this while we know it's safe. I could junk all my treasure tokens to put another manufacturer in play, but I think I'm just good. I'm just, like, very much outpacing what my opponent does, and now I just need to, like, work on using currency converter to find an actual win condition. My win condition can straight up be attacking with Osmore 3 times. Time Sieve just immediately kills my opponent. Like, this is turn 7 and my opponent has not grown these slivers at all. Like, I don't want to crap on their deck, but I just want to, like, use this as a didactic moment, as a teaching moment, right? Like, that deck has too much interaction and not enough slivers. Oop. Let's mute the old phone here. Okay, we are getting a sliver. It's funny how little I care about triple harmonic sliver, honestly. Like, it matters, but, like, I feel like I'm still on track to just win this game. Like, if opponent has Force of Will plus blue card for my relevant card, I just, like, recast it from my graveyard with Emery, right? I think they also messed up by not removing the Emery when they had the Swords of Plowshares. I think they removed an Osmore instead, right? Yeah, like, they removed the thing that was attacking them, which, like, maybe was important, but I don't know. Alright, let's draw some cards. Try to get towards something that matters here. That qualifies, for sure. Now, these are artifact or enchantment. This is an enchantment, so, like, that's still a thing. I'm going to go ahead and go 3 mana here. Use the 3 mana to play an Academy Manufacturer. Okay, that is Force of Will plus blue card, so opponent is now Hellbent. Am I fine with giving up 3 treasure tokens to just do that again? I think so. I can also just, like, go Shadow Spear equip and crash in with Osmore, and, like, that's totally reasonable as well. Maybe that's just better. Just end the game. Because, like, at some point this does get annoying, right? Like, My opponent's slivers, although they have few of them, every one of them does very much matter right now. And I will just go ahead and do this at sorcery speed for the sake of F6ing. There's a lot going on here. Yes. I think if opponent bricks on a harmonic sliver for a turn... Sorry, I think if my opponent bricks on a sliver, they don't come back from this turn. Because, like, I get an Urza Saga token, I draw a whole bunch of cards. Life's just good. Yeah, they're not willing to trade here. All right, what's your draw? All right, it seems like opponent has something. Okay, that's fine. I will take that damage. My opponent can disrupt a lot of what's going on here with an instant speed sliver. Like, it can definitely mess with the whole, like, Shadow Spear, kill you that way situation. I don't really want another one of those. All right, my Urza Saga has ticked up. I honestly think I'm just going to start this by attacking. Like, this causes my opponent to either lose some slivers or tap Aether Vial and put in whatever they're going to put in. Okay, they do have something. A Phantasmal Image. Wild. Okay. Targeting Shadow Spear. Cookbook Urza Saga, I'm guessing? Yeah. Okay. I mean, that's fine. Like, I'll make my token. And then I will do this whole song and dance. Repeat it. Return it. Then you can blow up my other stuff. So this is not a lethal attack. I don't know that my opponent can, like, take this and go to 1, though. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Oh my god, this is so good for me. The sick sadistic satisfaction I am about to get from what's happening is probably not safe for work. I just have another Osmor. So I get a cookbook. Get to activate this ability. And blow up some foods, get rid of all of my opponent's slivers. Yeah, like, this has just been held back forever by my opponent having Crystalline Sliver. Yeah, absolutely wrecked. Yeah, and that's good enough to get the concession, and I win the match. Alright, so that's 5 rounds with this deck. Overall thoughts on the deck list. There are very powerful things in this deck, but it feels clunky, and there's so many combinations of bad cards that you can draw. So, like, when you have the combinations of the cards that work, this deck is really neat and has a very powerful engine. But I think there's a lot of downsides. The biggest downside being playing something like this gets you all of the splash artifact hate that's already in the format. And I think that alone probably makes this non-viable. You know, all your Katakis, Stony Silences, Collector Oofs, those sorts of cards, like, those things are very hard for this deck to beat. I also think this deck frequently gets knocked off by a single disruption card. Like, there's a lot of times where you keep a hand and it's just, like, very, very, very reliant on one thing working, such as an Underworld Cookbook, and if it doesn't work, like, kind of don't get to set up and do the things that you do. I'm not sure how to address that. The answer is probably you eliminate some of the cuteness in the deck and just play more objectively powerful cards. Like, you can lean harder into the artifact synergies, play, you know, like Urza, Karn, and Urza's Saga, along with, like, all of these ways to make lots of artifacts. But, like, at the end of the day, like, by Legacy standards, is it actually okay for you to be playing Academy Manufacturer? We went Time Sieve Infinite in, I think, round 1, and then we never really assembled that again. It's an interesting angle of attack, but, like, the thing that was killing my opponents was the Urza Saga Construct tokens at the end of the day. And that's, like, often the case for these decks, right? Like, Urza Saga is the most powerful thing in this deck by an order of magnitude. Like, those tokens are the things that are getting the kills. And, like, admittedly, the Urza Saga tokens in this deck were batshit insane because of how many artifacts you make. but I just don't have a strong positive vibe about this deck after playing a few rounds with it, right? Like in that last round there, my opponent like basically never put any pressure on my life total. And when there's no pressure on my life total, my opponent isn't actively trying to kill me. I can set up and do very stupid things like I did in that last round. But like that's not going to normally happen in Legacy, right? Like blue red Delver is kind of the test, and I feel like in a lot of ways this deck kind of like fails the test when it is put under a lot of pressure. I expected both Ledger Shredder and Currency Converter to be better than they were in this league, but my Ledger Shredders were actually pretty bad. The issue kind of was that I would have a lot of stuff like these things in my hand that I couldn't actually cast to trigger Ledger Shredder twice, and I could have changed some of my play patterns to get a counter on it in a couple of cases, but I expected to assemble things that I did not assemble. Okay, sorry, I lost the train for what I was saying there, but like things didn't come together as much as I expected them to come together. And there's cool synergies in this deck list, but ultimately I think it's just a little bit too slow. Like you can futz around with this shell and like probably improve it more. But I kind of feel like I'm in the like this is still probably a weak modern power level deck just because of how slow it is. So I don't think this one ultimately gets the thumbs up for me. But it was very fun exploring this. I did see like a Ledger Shredder, Currency Converter, or like standstilly control type deck a while back that was kind of interesting. Um, Maybe Currency Converter and Ledger Shredder belong in that shell, but I don't think the Ledger Shredder belongs here. Currency Converter plus Underworld Cookbook is cool though. All right, I think I'm out of ideas. Please throw your future ideas in the comments as well. I'm sure Jace would appreciate that. And have a great rest of the day, folks. If you made it this far in the video, please consider throwing me a like if you haven't already. And if you want to try this one out and mess around with it, that information as well as my donation decklist information is available in the video description. See ya!